So I am Sunny Hostin, a co-host of ABC's The View, and more importantly, an admirer and dear, dear friend of Mr. Ben Crump, attorney extraordinaire. I call you the Black Attorney General.
Thank
Okay?
you, sis.
So thank you, most importantly, for sitting with me today to talk about this book. I love this book. I remember when you were writing it
Yes,
and you sent me a PDF copy of
yes,
it, I
ma'am.
believe. And I must have read it in maybe a weekend
Yeah,
because I responded to you and said, I love this book. And apparently, everybody else loves it. Everyone's reading it. On the back of the book, you have me, of course, endorsing it because I think it's spectacular. But you have Don Cheadle
yes, ma'am.
saying that legendary civil rights attorney Ben Crump's debut novel, Worse Than a Lie, is a great, gritty legal thriller set in Chicago. It grabs you from beginning to end. And that is the truth of it. Well done, my friend.
Well, thank you, Sunny Hostin. That means a lot coming from you because not only are you an award winning writer yourself and you're brilliant, but you're also an attorney. And so I know you know when I'm talking about the inner workings of a courtroom,
Yes.
how important those things are to educate the public, not just entertain them. And that was the goal with Worse Than a Lie.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you because, first of all, you've written nonfiction before. We've talked about that
Yes,
book,
ma'am.
um, but now you've written a novel about the criminal justice system. And why did you choose to tell this story of really police misconduct, police brutality against a former police officer in novel form?
Yeah, Sonny, it's so um, straightforward in my mind. My personal hero, Thurgood Marshall, um, once said that most people will never know what really happens inside of a courtroom. And so that's why he said he wrote his pleadings very engaging because he wanted
Mm,
to engage the public. Well, what's more engaging than a legal thriller?
right.
And so that's what I endeavored to do to have a good legal thriller like the ones that engage me when I'm on planes, whether it's John Grisham's Rainmaker, Michael Conley, Lincoln Lawyer,
Yes.
those type Sunny Hostin summer series, because your books grab and are thrilling, but that engages people, and when they're engaged, then you got their attention and you can try to teach them, and this was a civil rights legal thriller.
Yes.
So it was had a different flavor from all those other great books, those other great legal thrillers.
It really does. And I wanted to ask you, I think I know the answer to it, but why the title Worse Than a Lie?
You know, it's interesting because I my grandmother helped raise me while my mother was working
Right.
two jobs to raise me and my little brothers as a single parent. Um, and my grandmother used to say, "What's worse than a lie?" And she said, "To tell the truth and have nobody believe you."
Oh,
And so when you read this book, it goes so much even deeper than what my grandmother used to say about what's worse than a lie. And so what the title character, Attorney Bowley Cooper,
yes.
he understands very quick into the book to beat this broken system, it's going to take more than just the truth.
Wow. Wow. Oh, I love that, Ben. Um,
Thank
let
you.
me, let me ask you this. Do you remember the exact moment that Worse Than a Lie sort of came to you? Because I think with many authors, I think there's a book in everyone, but in many authors, you always kind of think, man, I should write about that, or wow, this would be an interesting story. What was that light bulb that brought this story to you?
Sonny, it's so interesting, and God knows you and I have covered so many cases since
Yeah,
Trayvon, and then think about all the ones Michael
so
Brown,
many.
Tamir Rice, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland. I mean, and so in all of those cases, you learn different things, different aspects, and I would make notes about them to say how this is going to help us with the next case and with
Oh,
the next case. And so I said, it was Trayvon Martin case that helped me with so much that helped us get victory in George Floyd
yeah.
because every case you learn from. And so I said, how do we get this to the next generation
Mm.
of civil rights lawyers and social justice warriors? And it came back to, well, what got you into wanting to be a lawyer so passionately? After Thurgood Marshall led the fire, I remember as a little boy with my grandmother watching Perry Mason
Yes.
shows when I
Yes.
was like 10 and 11 years
Same.
old. And those books last forever.
Yeah.
That was in the 1920s. That was 100 years ago when he wrote those Perry Mason books.
Yes.
So I'm thinking to myself, no, we do legal thrillers to inspire the next generation because we need civil rights warriors in America today.
We really do. We
Yeah.
really do. And tell me about how your career as an attorney. It's a storied career. And you take the cases that I think people always think are unwinnable.
Yeah.
You take the hardest ones, and you're there for families. I've seen you,
Yes.
and you're there for families at their most difficult moments, right?
Mhm.
How did that inspire the character Bo Lee Cooper?
Oh man, it's so many similarities because
I saw them. I saw you in the book, but tell us about it.
even though it's a fictional account, there's some truth in all
Hmm.
fiction, and certainly I love that Attorney Bowley character is so convinced that we're always going to get justice as long as we keep striving for it, keep putting one foot in front of the other, no matter what happens. And you see with the character, his co-counsel, Princess Alvarez,
Hmm.
young Puerto Rican lawyer, and him, and she's like, it's not looking good, and he's like, no, no, we just keep going forward. No matter what the ruling is, you keep swinging, you keep punching, keep your eyes on the prize. And I like to believe that's what Ben Crump says in
You do.
every
You've said it
case,
to me.
you know.
We were just talking privately about the story when you first got involved with Trayvon Martin's killing. I say murder,
Yeah,
um, and his family, and no one in the media would pick up that story. They said that it was a local story,
yeah.
and I never forget. You kept on, and you finally called me when I was working at CNN,
Mhm.
and you said, "Please, please, can you shed some light on national media this story because this is a story that's happening to young black men
Yeah,
all around the country." And Anderson Cooper agreed. We interviewed Sabrina Fulton.
yeah,
We interviewed the family. It was the first national
yeah.
interview, I
And
believe.
his brother,
And his brother. That's
Javaris.
right. I was the only person to interview his
Yeah,
brother. And you never stopped fighting for justice. You just never did.
yeah,
What is it, do you think, that drives you to never give up?
yeah. And Sonny, well, two quick things. One, it just reminds me of why this book matters so much because I still think marginalized people, especially marginalized people of color, people like to sweep under the rug.
Yeah.
And for every George Floyd, for every Trayvon, there are literally 1,000 others that are just as bad that nobody will talk about.
Yeah.
It's like their lives don't matter. And then, so now I think about with the book and just talking about real life experiences, uh, Bo Lee wants to make sure that the law is used as an instrument for good
Mm-hmm.
and not as a weapon for oppression, even though this system seems to conspire to just keep pushing down on the truth and keep trying to bury the
Bury it.
truth. And so you have that, but then you have the characters like Hollis, and I just think about it because,
Let's talk about Hollis because the character is Hollis Montrose. He's a former police officer
man,
who becomes a victim of police violence.
Yeah.
Black former police officer, 4 white police officers who basically could have been his colleagues
Yeah.
during his policing days, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you, what did you want readers to confront through that choice, that narrative choice?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'll say, and then get to the point I was about to make that's very emotional to me. The fact that Hollis Montrose was a good citizen. He was a good man. And I intentionally did that because in so many of the cases that you've covered with me, in reality, they would say the victims of the police brutality, oh, where they were a convicted felon,
Yes.
oh, where they were arrested.
They
oh, where,
demonize the
yeah,
victim,
they,
and they re-victimize
character
the family.
Exactly.
Yes.
In every situation. And so I made Hollis be just a wonderful citizen.
Right.
I mean, constructive, positive, and everything. And it's not lost on me. We just had Martin Luther King. The country celebrates Martin Luther King holiday, and we talk about his letter from the Birmingham jail: "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Because if you allow a little injustice to go by, then it can affect any and everybody. And so even good people then end up being killed, whether in Hollis Montrose case or, right now playing out in Minneapolis,
That's right.
Alex Peretta, Breonna Taylor,
Yeah.
Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, just wonderful people by everybody's, articulation, but yet they were the victims of brutality.
Right.
And then you have the character assassination happen
Yes.
with the system. And I wanted the people to see that. It didn't matter how good he was. The system does what the system does. And it's courageous people like you with a platform, these civil rights lawyers who take up the torch and say, well, we're going to expose the light so they can see the truth.
I love you, Ben. Let me ask you this, because what was...
Can I say one more
Yes,
thing about
yeah.
Hollis, Sonny? In the book, we get in there and we give the graphics when he's being shot.
Yeah.
And we talk about how the bullets, the hot bullets are going through his torso and he's crying out, and it's like an ancestral cry.
Yeah.
And everything. And I often think I wanted to let Hollis survive and worse than a lie, because I thought about Breonna Taylor a lot, 8 bullet holes in her body while she was practically naked in her nightgown in her own apartment. And we all know now when Breonna's mother got on the scene, they lied and sent her to the hospital. And Breonna, we don't know how long she lived on that floor by herself. Yeah. And I kept thinking, so many of our clients who were killed, I wanted to try to let the reader know how, soul stirring it is when you think about these cases. And Hollis, who even they thought he was dead in the book.
I thought that was such an important choice that you made in making sure that he survived it, because, as you said, many don't.
Yeah.
Most don't, actually. Yeah. And so the fact that, so that choice that you made was an intentional choice.
It was. I wanted him to be able to live to tell.
And another choice that you made that I found interesting is that this book opens on the night President Barack Obama was elected.
Yes, ma'am.
Why that night?
Yeah, and that was intentional too. Even I got some pushback on it. It was intentional because what I wanted to do, son, I was very clear what I wanted to achieve with the book, and I wanted to try to create an allegory for the reader.
Yeah.
So you will have characters and events be able to present symbolic ideals and abstract ideals of the election of this first black president, a
Elevated to the
historic
highest
moment.
office
Yeah.
in the country.
And then this question of whether we are going to still have the same insidious civil rights atrocities now that we've reached this milestone. And so I wanted it to be very vivid for the reader. Even in the book, Attorney Cooper and his wife is having a conversation,
Yeah.
and he says there's a man on the plane who says, well, you're going to need a new job now, pal. First black president won't be a need for civil rights
Yes.
anymore.
We're post-racial now.
Yeah, we're post-racial.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make it very vivid, and I think it works.
It works so well. That's what I wanted to ask. I'm like, wow.
It's foreshadowing.
You could just see sort of the parallel universes that many people live in, right?
And it's foreshadowing now because it was saying, oh, there's going to be some backlash to this historic occurrence.
And I believe there was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you believe that fiction can change hearts and minds in ways that the news can't? Because I believe that when I write my books, I write historical fiction.
Yes.
Because it's almost like giving kids spinach with a little bit of honey on top.
Yes.
Right? So they're going to eat it, but they're going to read it, but they're going to learn something. Do you feel that way?
I do. And let me just say, your books are fabulous.
Oh,
They're
thank you,
great.
Ben.
So I'm inspired by them, and they help
Thank
me.
you.
And my wife.
Thank you.
She loves them. No, I think fiction absolutely inspired. To Kill a Mockingbird, I talk about it in the book,
Yeah.
but I remember reading that book saying, wow, I want to be like Atticus Finch.
Yes.
Stand up for truth and right no matter what.
Yeah.
And so I think fiction, even when I think about all those great legal thrillers we talked about, I literally was reading Michael Connelly, The Brass Verdict, while I was working on the Harvard case.
Oh,
And,
wow.
we had so much to lose, embarrassment and everything, but you just try to say, hold on, I got a specific job to do, and I can't lose focus of my mission. God has put this on me, and let me go forward. And you think about those books like A Time to Kill.
Oh.
They all motivate you.
They do.
And just being honest, and that's what I hope Worse Than a Lie can be. Be very honest with the readers. I remember, and I give Grisham a lot of credit for that, in A Time to Kill when the character that Samuel Jackson portrayed
Yes.
said to the title character that Matthew McConaughey played, well, you want to know what it'll take to get me off?
Yeah.
Well, what would it take to convince you?
Yes.
You one of them. And that was one of the most honest statements, a young, idealistic white lawyer representing this black man. But he was like, no, you got to be convinced before you
Right.
can convince anybody else. And I tell my lawyers that all the time who work with me. If you don't believe it, then you can't convince anybody else. So in that book, in Worse Than a Lie, everybody has to see Bo Lee really believes it.
Yes.
Despite all the, legal hurdles he got to jump. Denial of bail. We're going to not let
That was an
evidence
unreasonably
in.
high bail.
Yeah. But it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
these are
Yeah.
true things, Sonny. And, man, it won't ever make the media or anything, but there are so many innocent people, especially poor people of color, sitting in jail because of technicalities.
Yes.
And I wanted Worse Than a Lie to expose that.
And it does. It exposes so much about. I mean, I've been on the
Yeah,
other side of
yeah.
it. I was a federal prosecutor, but I was struck by the detail of how the system is, how it works, and how it's broken in many respects, especially from a defense attorney's perspective, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you want readers to take away from this book, especially perhaps people that want to help? They see injustice and they want to know, wow, what can I do? Where can I start?
Yeah.
What do you want to tell people, and what do you want readers to take away from it?
And those are the exact people that I wrote the book for. People who want to make a difference and make the uh, American promise of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness real for all Americans, for all citizens. And so it really comes down to this, Sonny. I want people to honestly read this book and understand two things. What we said at the very beginning of the book, the quest for truth and justice is not for the faint of heart.
No.
You understand that, right? Like this, it comes with challenges. It comes with trials and tribulations when you set out to try to get truth and justice against a system that doesn't want it. And then the final thing and the most urgent thing is this, that the enemies of equality won't win. Good people will ultimately prevail. The truth crushed down to the earth will rise again.
Well, as I was looking at the book, when I got the hardcover, I see that it says a Bo Lee Cooper novel.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that tells me that this is not the only book that will highlight Bo Lee Cooper's work. So I'm going to have to ask you, what can we expect from Bo Lee Cooper? No spoilers, but when's the next book? What's next for what's next?
Pressure.
What's next for Bo Lee Cooper?
Well,
Because it can't just be this. Because I wanted more and more and more.
you're very kind. Bo Lee has a lot of injustices to tackle in this world.
Yes, he does.
So the hope is we can draw from some of the things that we see happening in reality, where Bo can be a beacon of hope for others. So hopefully we'll have a sequel. That's a tease.
That's a nice tease. Thank you for writing this, Ben. I think that you make the world a better place anyway, but this is going to make the justice system so accessible, and we are going to see this film or this series. I'm putting it out there in the universe. I'm speaking it into existence.
Thank you, Sonny. I love you so much.
Love you too.